Sewing fish sewing tutorial. DIY handmade kits for bag DQ642. Before we start to make our bag, we need to check is there any problem with the kits. And we need to know which side of the ladder is for outside of the bag and inside of the bag. Please get ladder number 2 and put it on ladder number 1 and sew the holes on top of 2 pieces of ladder. The length of thread used to sew these holes on ladder number 1 will be 4 times of the length in the middle of ladder number 1. For example, it is 1 time of length on the bottom of ladder number 1. So we need 5 times of length on the bottom of ladder number 1. Use the scissors to cut the thread. We can use sideways cut. The sewing method we use is double needle sew method. Thus, we need to make 2 sides of thread and needles together. Make a hole in the middle of the thread with the needle, then pull the thread through the pinhole and pull the long thread. Get ladder number 1 and number 2 and make them coincide with each other. Use the needle and make it through the first hole on both pieces of ladder. After that, make the length of the thread be the same length. Use the needle at the bottom side of the ladder and make it through the second hole of both pieces of ladder. Use the needle on top of the ladder and make it through the second hole of all pieces of ladder. Pull the thread on 2 sides of the ladder to make it tie. Now you can use the same sew method on the last step to sew all the holes on the ladder. After you finish all the holes, you may need to use the needle through the last 2 holes and cut the thread. To keep little thread when cutting it, and make sure both needles should keep on the ladder of the inside backside. Make it tight and beautiful. We need to use a lighter to find the thread, but don't burn the ladder directly. The length of thread used to sew this house on ladder number 1 will be 4 times of the length in the middle of ladder number 1. Now you can use the same sew method on the last step to sew all the holes on the ladder. Use the needle at the top side of the ladder and make it through the first hole of both pieces of ladder. Also, put the needle in between yellow and white ladder. Now you can use the same sew method on the last step to sew all the holes on the ladder. Use the needle and make it through the middle of the 2 ladders in the last hole. Now you can use the same sew method on the last step to sew all the holes on the ladder. Place sewed holes on ladder number 1. We need to keep few holes when we sewing it, because we need to put the cotton in between two pieces of leather. After that, we need to still sew the rest holes to completely. Get the kitchen set and make it put on the ladder. Thank you. Let me know if you need any help.